Primal Season 3 was a super fun season of television, and I loved watching it. But its actual plot taken as a whole is something I have complicated feelings about. If you want full context on what this show is, watch my other Primal video, and if you're enjoying my stuff, please subscribe. The first season of Primal is about Spear and Fang bonding with one another, as they deal with loneliness and survival, while Season 2 involved human relationships, conflict, war, and revenge. Primal's lack of dialogue has always necessitated a focus on emotion and expression to communicate connection. You can really see inside its characters, and that makes it easy to love them. That made it tough to see Spear die at the end of Season 2. The death was pretty controversial, and his story really was considered finished. Going forward, Primal was going to become an anthology, following completely different settings and characters. Gendy, though, after trying hard to find another angle for the show, realized the mistake he had made, how in love with this world he'd become, and the difficulty in making something else that feels like Primal but isn't Primal.
And then I started to think about, like, oh my God, what did I just do? I spent 20 episodes trying to build the audience to like and fall in love with Spear and Fang, and to like this whole world and everything, and then I ended.
So he conceived of a way to bring Spear back, and let us spend a little more time with these characters before we let them go. The whole season revolves around the loss of Spear, the grief surrounding his death. A cartoon could bring someone back to life with no skin off its back. Just have Spear crawl out of hell and go back to how things were. But early on, the show seems to know that wouldn't feel quite right. That in a series about brutality and nature, a character can't simply come back to life without consequence. That wouldn't be true or fair. But it finds a way to give us Spear back anyway. At least, a spark of him. So the season starts with Spear dead and buried, in the same village shown at the end of the last season. To fight off some invaders, a remaining shaman reanimates Spear's decomposed corpse, directing him with magic. When the shaman dies, something odd happens to Spear. He's released from the shaman's control, but doesn't return to death. Instead, moving through the world now as a strange, extremely dulled mockery of a living thing. This new creature's movements are languid and stiff. He's slow enough to be constantly attacked and hurt in ways the original never would have been. He's so near brain dead that he almost doesn't even register confusion. He just barely knows enough to shamble on. A Frankenstein's monster with nebulous, unclear goals, seeing flashes of memory from some faded life. He doesn't feel like the man we knew. He feels like what he is, a reanimated corpse, with the faintest spark of Spear somewhere inside. It creates some really striking images, funny moments, and interesting movements and fights. We have to try to let go of the Spear that was, and try to learn to love the Spear that is. A really cool detail is that as his body picks up injuries, whether it be an enemy slicing off part of his scalp, lions leaving large gashes with their claws, or mole men eating the skin and muscle off his hand entirely, they stay with him through each episode. His body acts like a map of the season's violence. I particularly love how he uses his skeletal hand as a weapon. Meanwhile, Fang and Mira have formed their own bond in Spear's absence, helping each other with motherhood, and trying to move on with their lives, no matter how much they wish he was still around. The whole thing feels like a lesson in mourning. Our own relationship to our main character and our discomfort at not truly having him back are reflected through Fang and Mira's differing reactions to having this thing around. I also think it's really cool how the fact that the show has no dialogue allows us to see their reactions as equally weighted things. Usually, the animal character would be at a disadvantage, but while voiceless, they're on even ground. And it's interesting to see Fang's deeper understanding of the reality of death, and of the reality of what this thing is. In the ways that matter, it isn't him, and that disturbs her. You can tell she finds it perverse. While the desperation of Mira's love for him pushes her to accept him anyway.
Mira.
Primal's found an interesting way to bring Spear back, but also to show that things change and life goes on. They just don't belong together anymore. An angry mob chases him out of the village, and he realizes that too, starting to move on in his own way. And it's kind of gratifying to see the sadness and confusion of this creature move towards happiness as he starts to go down his own path. His smile is actually wholesome. The fact that he becomes king of this cool coliseum with all these fun humanoid enemies to fight is pretty fucking awesome. The sword and sorcery angle this season has is great to see, and is a natural continuation of the general Frank Frazetta, Mike Mignola inspired world. I especially love these big, thick boys. As he starts to drink more and more of this black liquid after every victory, he's made more and more whole, and he really starts to wake up. Even though we know we should be trying to get into Spear the Undead King instead of Spear the Man, his old self looms large. He clearly longs for his family. The love he feels and companionship he craves strengthen more and more as his mind returns. There's this tragedy that he wants life back the way it was, and it's out of reach. But then his skin turns back to normal. The wounds he's been carrying with him heal over, and suddenly he's human. Surprisingly, at the finale of the season, Spear does fully return. The controversial ending of the last season is undone entirely. We see in a flash forward that he spends his life living with his family, raising his daughter, totally at peace. To be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about that, whether or not it's actually satisfying. The emotion of the rest of the season ends up feeling like a bit of a red herring, and all the arcs are stunted. To me, they end up feeling a bit pointless. Does Fang learn to accept this new thing, even if it's not Spear? Does Mira learn to let him go? That he doesn't belong with her anymore? Does this creature, with respect for the man he was, learn to find his own place? No. Throw all that out. Don't worry about complication or narrative difficulty. Everything's fine. I didn't think this was going to be the story of how Spear came back to life and reunited with his loved ones. I thought that for both them and us, it was just about getting to spend one last moment with him, about finding a different way to include him in this world. Death can't be reversed. In life, we can't go backwards. And it's too easy and too convenient to just bring him back. This was one last adventure, an opportunity for closure, to move on. But since he comes fully back to the land of the living, it can't help but feel like fan service. The story we'd already seen has been crossed out and scribbled over. It's a retcon. It's such a nakedly happy ending that it feels like throwing the characters a bone rather than showing us what really happened to them. Especially in this world, one of violence, death, and nature, it feels at odds with the reality we've gotten used to, that we get something so squeaky clean. This whole show started with Fang and Spear forming a bond with one another due to the shared trauma of watching their families eaten in front of them. It was harsh, it was dark, but the two of them learned to move on. to accept the torturous reality of the world. They wade through the truths of nature and they find beauty there. It made the season powerful, and it made the show something really unique. This season ends up cowering away from that, and that's kind of disappointing. It feels like what we wish happened instead of feeling like the truth. But at the same time, even though it's fan service, I'm a fan. And so it can't help but feel good to see Spear embrace his family, to see the real him get to smile and win. Even though I was enjoying watching the season ruminate on grief and death, even though I thought it had a more interesting point to make, I feel glad for the characters anyway. So this is at the same time not what I wanted, but also emotionally satisfying in its own, more simple way. It was very kind, and of course I liked it. The season may have taken the easy, friendly option, but maybe I should just be happy that they're happy. Just because it's convenient doesn't mean it's not very nice to watch characters that deserve contentment finally get it.